Coming up on today's show.
We're all affected, and I think we're all trying to cope.
Or hot coffee, we like that too, so it's good, yeah.
Every week, or most Saturdays, I have breakfast with a bunch of girlfriends. We go out for breakfast, and obviously we're not doing that, but we decided to have a Zoom breakfast.
Ways to stay calm and to cope during a crisis today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hey, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Times have changed a little bit. We're all kind of in a little crisis right now. Now, at the time this plays back, this could be 3 years from now, and we'll look back and say, oh, well, that lasted for a season, but now we're on to other things. But, crises will always come. I once heard someone say, you're either leaving a crisis, going into one, or in between. So I guess that's wise wisdom. But today we're going to bring on Linda Samuels, Oh So Organized. Linda, welcome back to Keeping You Organized.
Thanks so much for having me, John. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
I always think about you when I need like deep thinking. And I know today we're going to, there's a lot of things we could talk about, and we are talking about on some other episodes about how to set up your home office or what happens when you move home, what do you do? But, one thing, whether it's this crisis or any crisis, ways to cope and stay calm, I think is a universal evergreen topic. So let's dig into that and give us some tips here.
Okay, so right now, as you know, we're just in an unprecedented time. But as you said, there are other times of crisis. So what I'm going to share, some of them are really relevant for right now, but they will be relevant for other times too. So the first one, real simply, is be prepared. And that's going to look a little different, feel a little different for each of us. But, things like, do I have enough frozen food and canned food? Do I have the cleaning products I need? Maybe some additional prescriptions or medicines that I might need. Do I have what I need now? And toilet paper, although from what I understand, there's a run on toilet paper in the entire country. So if anyone needs a roll, just let me know. I've got some and I'll send it to you. But what are the things that you need to stay in place that will just, make you feel a little more prepared and comfortable?
Yeah, I think too, when people are, I still try to wonder why people are hoarding toilet paper versus maybe hoarding green beans or, something or water even. But I guess there's one of those things where, whatever makes you calm is what you should hoard, I guess. Some people it's going to be M&Ms.
Yes. Some people it's going to be M&Ms. I mean, for some reason in our market, there's no chicken. So, and someone else said that they have plenty of chicken where they are, but there's no steak, or no beef.
Right.
It's just, who knows? But yes, so figure out what it is that you need to feel prepared and it doesn't have to be completely, but just enough to take a little edge off of that stress and anxiety. Another part of the preparedness is to gather some resources. So whether those are the world resources, like, knowing how to get links to the CDC at cdc.gov, or the World Health Organization, WHO.int, or even specifically be connected to your individual community and those alerts. I found that to be really important. I get alerts for my town and also the state and the city of what's happening right where I am. And that it's very comforting to know that the people that are running the area that you're in have a plan and are sharing that plan and resources.
And you're like, during this COVID crisis, you're about 15 miles away from New Rochelle, where they have a lockdown going there. What does that feel like psychologically to you?
I mean, it's tough. I have, clients in that area. One of my clients has friends that are, in the hospital in critical condition from that, whole situation. And it's very close. And also I'm right near Manhattan, and one of our daughters lives in Brooklyn. So there's a big, we're all affected. And I think we're all trying to cope in however we can, including myself.
Yes, absolutely. What else do you got on your little list of ways to stay calm and cope?
So one of the things I think is really important anyway, but particularly now, is to focus on some of the mind-body things that we can do to just calm our you know, our interior. For me, daily meditation is something that I've been doing for years, but it really is helpful now. And something that I started more recently is going to yoga classes. And unfortunately, the studio that I practice at had to close because of this. However, they are offering yoga using the Zoom platform, which is awesome. So I've been
Right.
doing that. So whether it's yoga or meditation or exercise, anything like that, if you can and it's safe, even to get outside, get some fresh air, take walks. Where I live pretty much in the woods and near water, so I can get out, but I recognize that's not the reality for everyone. But you
Yeah.
know, even if you have a porch and you could just, you know, stick your head out the window, getting some fresh air can really help for just to calm you. And drinking hot tea. I'm drinking a lot of hot tea.
Or hot coffee, you know, we like that too. So it's good. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if this is false information, but I'd heard it's better to drink warm beverages or room temperature than cold ones right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're in Minnesota too, you know, but that's a different thing.
so anyway, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
Um, and then another way that I think really helps us cope is to give and receive support.
Yeah.
And you know, we're all feeling it. So just because we have to practice social distancing, it doesn't mean we have to um, disengage socially. And I
Right.
think there are so many ways that we can connect, like, you know, with our family and our friends, our clients, our colleagues, you know, just there are lots of opportunities for that. And, you know, you can use the methods old school, like calling or texting or emailing. But we can use platforms like Zoom or FaceTime or the WhatsApp or various social media channels.
Yeah.
One of the things that's fun is I've never used FaceTime, but with one of my daughters, we decided instead of just talking, let's use FaceTime, and it was so nice to see her face. You know,
Oh yeah, adds a whole dimension there to it.
it's a totally a different feeling. My brother, who I will see, he lives. We don't live in the same place. He lives in Boston. I live in New York, but we will talk on the phone. But this instead, we decided to again use Zoom to have a conversation, and it was wonderful, and it just it just made him feel that much closer.
Right.
Um,
Right.
You know, as far as that given support, just one little story I wanted to tell. We went out last night, and you know all the restaurants here, at least at the time of this recording, are closed, but you can do takeout. So we went to one of our local ones and take out, and then you know they print out the receipt, and there's a room for a tip on there, and we gave a nice tip because you know those waiters and waitresses who normally you know they do both to go and in seating, they have you know they're losing income too, and I think they really feel supported when we can help support them as well.
that is such a beautiful thing to do. I've heard other people doing that. I think that's just brilliant because yeah, people economically, I mean, that could be a whole podcast in itself, but people are
Yeah.
really going to be hurting that way.
Right.
Um,
What else do you got?
well, I just wanted to say that two other things of that connecting with people. Every week or most Saturdays, I have breakfast with a bunch of girlfriends. We go out for breakfast. And obviously, we're not doing that, but we decided to have a Zoom breakfast. So we're all going to meet on Zoom and eat our breakfast in our pajamas and have our tea and talk that way. And, and that's something different. And the other thing we decided is, you know, we also, again, can't really get together with a lot of our friends. So my husband and I decided to invite everyone to a virtual cocktail party. So
Right.
I love it. I love it. That's another thing I hear there's a run on is at the liquor stores, but you know who knows? I mean, that's another way to cope.
yeah, another way to cope.
Right.
And another strategy for coping is to practice gratitude. You know,
Okay.
I'm sure every single person, as stressful and as anxiety producing as this time has been, they've also noticed some really interesting, beautiful things going on. So, for example, I'm pretty much home. I'm not going out now to see clients. I don't want to put them in danger. And my husband's working from home. So we actually have a lot more meals together and a lot more touch points during the day. And that's something I'm really grateful for, or things like in New York, it's just about spring and all the beautiful flowers are coming up. And that always is such a time that makes me feel hopeful. So even though there's a whole lot of bad stuff going on and a whole lot of scary stuff going on, there's still this other level of the world happening on the nature level that is something to be grateful for and to
Yeah.
appreciate.
It's great. I was telling someone the other day, spring is one thing that has not been canceled yet. So your flowers are still going to come up and they're not going to catch any virus.
Let's
Yeah.
let's hope not. Oh my gosh.
Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about more of these strategies. We're with Linda Samuels, Oh So Organized, talking about how to stay calm, stress-free during times of crisis, and we'll be right back.
The Organized Home Office from MyOrganized.life. When you work from home, your workspace doesn't have to be bland and boring. Brighten up your home office with organizing solutions from MyOrganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life. MyOrganized.life.
All right, we're back on Keeping You Organized, talking about how to cope and stay calm during a crisis. We're still doing this show. Nothing's going to stop this. Well, I guess it would if the internet went down. But we're with Linda Samuels, Oh So Organized. Linda, so before the break, we're talking a lot about generosity, taking care of others. Let's get now into some practical things that we have to deal with when we're in an environment at home, which is maybe stressful, caused by other people or caused by your work situation. What are some strategies you have for those?
So one thing I will say is, we know that our environment deeply affects how we feel, how we are able to work or function. And so this is a great time to get your environment organized. And the reality is that organizing and cleaning actually engages the brain in a way that makes you feel less stressful and anxious. So especially if you're spending more time at home, and hopefully you are, you're going to actually experience positive results if you get your areas organized. So I would encourage all of you to work on that.
Yeah, and we have lots of resources at SMED.com under the podcast. So whether it's here or 3 years ago, there's a lot of principles. We won't get into them on this show, but we have definitely talked about those before. So, okay, great.
And the other thing I'd say is that, for a lot of people, they're not really accustomed to working from home. And so the idea of just having all this time unstructured can be really tough. So making a schedule is really important. And, figure out what the combination of work and personal time is. Make sure you take breaks. I find sometimes the use of buzzers or timers helps, instead of sitting, like expecting to sit at your computer for 8 hours straight, you set a timer, get up every 20 or 30 minutes or whatever works for you. So you take a little break, you get some water, you go to the bathroom, get a little something to eat. And this is especially important if you've got your whole family home and you're not accustomed to that. So having a schedule where people kind of have a sense of what's going on is great. And one of the things that also helps is to create what I call anchors during the day. So let's say, you decide you're going to wake up and go to sleep at a certain time. You're going to take a break and go outside for a walk if that's possible at a certain time, or you're going to check in with your family and friends at a certain time. But having some kind of anchor every day that will help, even if you don't plan every single hour, at least having something that doesn't just make the day, be totally amorphous, which is okay for one day, but not okay for months on.
Yeah, I like those finish lines, guideposts, whatever they might be. That's a great idea. All right, what else?
So another thing that can really be a positive from this time is you can do some retooling. So for instance, let's say there's an online course that you'd like to take. Every day I'm getting emails from all these great speakers that are doing presentations for free right now. But it's a great time to work on professional development or just any kind of other learning that you want to do. Or even, revamping your website, which you can do remotely, or working on marketing strategies. So there's a lot that you can do to retool so that if you are just home and even though you're home, you may not be able to actually do your work at home, but you've been sent home. There are other things you can do to make the time be fruitful and productive.
Awesome. I think it's a really good point too, because again, it's a new environment for a lot of people. So, you need to think a little bit differently. It can't just be exactly the same. But even in my own routine, I'm thinking, okay, I'm still going to get up at the same time. Now, I don't have as much of a commute, so I actually have a little more time on my hands, but maybe I can do some other things I normally can't do, maybe some reading, some other things like that. So I think it's a great idea. All right, are we done yet, or do we have a few more?
We have like maybe one more and a bonus if you want.
That's awesome. I love it.
Okay, so the next one, I'm sure you've probably heard this, is limit your media time. So there is so much going on a daily basis. I mean, things are changing frequently throughout the day, and we can get overwhelmed by constantly watching the news. So I would say really limit how much time you're spending doing that, because that can add to your overwhelm and anxiety. And so maybe instead, figure out what's going to work for you. Perhaps it's just checking in once a day or twice a day, or if you really are hardcore, you've been looking all the time, maybe 3 times a day, but not where you're having a constant stream of listening to the news and knowing what's going on. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you live in a bubble, but I'm just trying to minimize that core sense of that, helping to alleviate some of that anxiety. And watching the news all the time is not the way to do it. So
No, that doesn't help at all, But you still want to watch or listen to podcasts, I think, because
media podcasts are.
Well, of course, I think too, a lot of people like, because podcast is kind of one-on-one, we're talking, but, one person at a time is taking this in. So, I mean, it's something where you can, grow from it a little bit. So
Absolutely.
But limit other things,
Limit other things. Yes. Yeah. I'm only really talking about the news type.
Yeah. Well, the news is also bad anyway. I don't even want to watch it or listen to it anymore, All right. Well, then you said you have a bonus one.
I've got the bonus one. So the last one is smile. So I think one of the hardest things is the social distancing. And I know for me, I mean, I love being around people and hugging them and touching them and seeing my friends and family. And it is so hard to be creating this distance. And, there are times when, even though I'm pretty much here in one place, I do have to go out. I've got to sometimes go to the market and get food, and other people have to go out too. And so when that happens, you're seeing strangers and everyone is so glum. And, we physically aren't as physically standing as close to each other, to try to protect one another. But you can always share a smile. And it makes such a difference because everyone's feeling the anxiety. But that smile is a way of, sharing compassion and our humanness. So I encourage you that even though you may be doing the social distancing, don't forget to smile at each other.
Awesome. That's such a great one to end on. And before we go, let's make people smile by telling them how they can get a hold of you and what can you do during this time. You offer any kind of virtual services?
Yes. So I can be reached on my website, ohsoorganized.com. And yes, I'm really pretty much doing just virtual organizing right now because I'm not doing hands-on because I don't want to jeopardize the health and safety of my clients. So if I can be of help with organizing virtually, I do that by Zoom or FaceTime or sometimes by phone. So I'd love to help if you need help with that.
Well, Linda, this has been good. It's helping me. I'm a little calmer now, a little less stressful, but I'm always like that after I talk to you. So I guess, that's good. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll have you again in the future.
Great. Thanks so much, John. And be well and be safe for you, your family, and all your wonderful colleagues.
All right. Great. Well, there you go, folks. Now you can be calm. You can make it through this thing, and definitely one of the survival tools is coming back next time for keeping you organized.